Hands up if you'd like to become smarter and learn absolutely anything. Then you'd better carry on watching. Hi and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about a super simple technique to learn just about anything. Now, the reality is that this is a very, very simple technique in theory, but in practice, it can actually be pretty painful. But look, don't worry. I'm going to give you some top tips about how you can practice this to learn just about anything for yourselves and get smarter. And surely everyone wants to be a bit smarter, right? Now, first, who's ever read, listened or watched something and been like, whoa, that's so good, I'm learning so much here. Then a few weeks go by and you try to remember that thing and it's gone. And that's because learning just doesn't happen by reading alone. It doesn't happen by just listening, just watching or just reading. Here's another situation, and I wonder how many of you can relate to this as well. Have you ever been in a meeting or in a conversation with someone and they're throwing around buzzwords like they're going out of fashion? They're making things more and more complicated, and seemingly they don't have any understanding about what it all means. Now, this is what happens when people basically don't really know what they're talking about. And E.F. Schumacher very elegantly puts it like this: any intelligent fool can make things bigger, more complicated and more violent. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. Now, the thing I'm going to talk about is the Feynman technique, but to be honest, the name of it, who came up with it, none of that really matters. I'm just going to tell you the 4 steps of this technique so that you can learn more and basically become better at anything that you want to become better at. So step 1 is to pretend to teach a concept to someone who's about 6 years old, or even, and this sounds totally ridiculous, a rubber duck. I know, a rubber duck. But it's true. If you hold an inanimate object like that, a passive object, and you try to explain something, then actually it can mean that you're dumbing it down, you're making it more simple. And actually, it's a technique that I've seen a huge amount when people are learning to code, learning to become software engineers. Now, teaching it to a 6-year-old or a rubber duck is just a way to try to simplify the concept that you're talking about. Now, the next step, step 2, is to identify gaps in your explanation. And then to go back to the research, go back to the source material, go back to the bigger concepts in order to learn that bit more. And this is why it's one of those concepts which is super simple in theory and really difficult in practice, because explaining it to someone who's 6 or even a rubber duck is hard, but actually then going back into the detail and trying to improve your explanation, that's where it can get pretty challenging. Step 3 is taking all that learning again, all of that deeper research, and trying to organize it and even further simplify. It's all about simplifying. And actually, it's way more difficult to simplify than to add levels of complexity. Step 4 is to transmit. And this is where I think it gets particularly interesting. This is where the big tips kind of come from for me. Transmit means share it with people. Ideally, share it with people who know what they're talking about and can give you some feedback and some critique. Now, here's the big takeaway for me, and here's what I'm trying to do with this video and a whole load of other videos that I want to be doing as well. So I'm going to change this technique very slightly. So instead of this 4-step technique of pretending to teach a concept to a 6-year-old, identifying the gaps in your explanation, organizing and simplifying and then transmitting, I'm saying your one tip, the one thing that you should be doing is make a video explaining a concept that you know well, and then get it onto YouTube, get it onto LinkedIn, get it anywhere where people can see it. And that's it. That is my tip for learning absolutely anything. Remember, when you teach something, you're learning it at least twice. You're learning it the first time for yourself, and then you're having to relearn it and improve on your learning of it in order to tell somebody else about it. And that's really what this YouTube channel is about for me. So I have one ask, just one thing that I would love you to do. And it's a tough one, but if anyone does it, I will be absolutely thrilled. And that is to think about a concept that you know well, something that you are very familiar with already. Make a little video, get out your phone, do a little selfie video of your face. Send it to me. Send it to me in any of these ways. Send it to me, tag me, whatever it is. I would love to see your version of this, explaining a concept super simply on video. Any that I see, any that I'm tagged in, I will give you some feedback on. I would love to see it. That's your one thing. Make a video explaining a simple concept. Try and make it as simple as possible, especially going to be needed for me. Tag me in it, and that would be an amazing thing. Thank you so much for listening this far. Hopefully you found this useful. Remember, all I want you to do is one thing: make a video and send it to me. That's it for now, and I'll see you next time.